Welcome to Simplify. I'm Caitlin Schiller.
And I'm Ben Schumann-Stoller.
Hi, Ben.
Hey, Caitlin.
Ben, is there anybody in your life upon whom you wish to avenge yourself?
That I want to get revenge on?
Yeah.
I've had that feeling.
Yeah, have you? So have I.
And I've had it like very intensely.
I've had it more recently than I would care to admit, actually. But
You wish
yes.
people ill?
There's one person I wish ill.
Really?
I'm not going to tell you who it is.
Oh my God.
Maybe we can talk about it later off mic, but
I'm so excited.
the feeling of revenge, it's a very natural human impulse. Even if you do try to be equanimous much of the time, you're going to feel it. It is built into us. But we can tap into the better angels of our nature.
Yeah.
And find ways to deal with those feelings that don't include, slashing somebody's tires and keying their car.
No, or just saying something really mean. That would be more like my response.
Or that,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Making them miserable.
Right.
That would also be my response, even like for a short amount of time. But so, because we have David Richo today on.
We do. Today's guest is David Richo.
Yeah.
And we're excited about that. It was lovely to talk with him. But Ben, you just did this really cute, excited intro about why you were happy that we got to get him on the show.
Well,
Tell me about it.
Yeah. I mean, look, David Richo's he's an authority about topics about interpersonal topics, right? So he's written about relationships.
Challenging ones, though.
Challenging ones, right.
Stuff that isn't that pretty.
Yeah.
sometimes.
And he has this way that good thinkers about complicated topics do, and especially Simplify guests, I guess, do of boiling it down in a way that you can not only understand the sort of hairy, really complicated interpersonal challenge, but also then do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this topic of revenge makes total sense within his catalog of work.
Yeah.
And we're going to say more about that in the bookend.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that's important context for people. He's coming to this topic from 30, 40 years of working on interpersonal topics.
Mm-hmm. As a therapist, I guess I don't know if we mentioned that, but he's a
Right, as a
therapist
therapist.
and an author. And just to give you a taste of what Ben was talking about, I think I don't know if they're his last two books, but two of his more popular books are a recent one on grief, which is also a hard feeling. And another book of his that I would love to talk with him about, it's called How to Be an Adult in Relationships. And so that's kind of him. And he comes to all of his topics with a very intellectual and very spiritual background.
Right.
He's a Zen guy. He's, I think,
mindful guy.
Mindfulness,
Absolutely.
et cetera, et cetera. And when I saw, so he came to us on a recommendation from a good friend of Ben's who has great literary taste. And
Hi, Abby. Yeah.
Hi, Abby. So I checked him out and I saw that he had a new book coming out called Sweeter Than Revenge. And I thought, oh my goodness, what is this about? And revenge is such a great topic right now. You see it in the news all the time. You hear about it. We hear about an administration wishing to have vengeance upon its enemies. It's very Shakespearean, but it's very contemporary. So it felt like the right time and the right book.
Yeah. And we should just get into it kind of, but and save this for the bookend. But the main things, I mean, do you want to share one thing that people should look out for?
I want to tell you, well, no, but I want to tell you, I do want to tell you something important. This is a very calm, gentle interview and pacing. And you'll notice that the audio quality isn't maybe what you usually hear on Simplify. It's because of various, audio equipment,
That's okay.
Logistical things. But I wanted to let you know that it's not going to sound like it normally does, but it's still worth it. I think it's worth it for the content. And I think if we're going to listen for one thing, listen up for his 4-step process for letting go of those vengeful feelings. That's in there.
All right. Don't forget that we have this newsletter. Caitlin's been writing these amazing essays. Really, Caitlin.
Well, thanks.
I've been forwarding them around.
Aww.
And we have this new Instagram also where Caitlin's also been making really nice carousels. You've been doing kind of everything.
I've been trying.
So
Ben, you've been busy with a new baby.
I have to do stuff. All right. Let's play the interview and then we'll talk more in the bookend.
Let's do it. Hi, Dave. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Caitlin.
I'm so glad to have you here. Dave, I often ask people, this is your name. You're David Richo. You're a PhD. You're a psychotherapist. You're a teacher. You're a writer. You're a workshop leader. And you're an author. Are there any other titles or functions that you would like to add to that list of distinguishments?
Well, the book we'll be talking about is called Sweeter Than Revenge.
You have a very gentle way of talking about revenge and of addressing what it is. This book is all about our very human instinct toward retaliation and why we've got it, what it does to our relationships to self and to community and the world, and how we can maybe grow beyond it with more skills. Before we get into any of those more granular things, I was wondering, it seemed really appropriate to me to release this book now, which is why I really wanted to talk to you. But what brought you to this book now?
What brought me to this book was a particular moment in history. It was something on the TV in which Netanyahu said, "I intend to retaliate against Hamas like the world has never seen." And of course, that was 2 years ago. And I started writing the book that same day because I felt a calling to let everyone know that there are alternatives to retribution, revenge, retaliation. And we find these alternatives in our own hearts and in Buddhism. Basically, I'm trying to show in the book, and I hope in my life, that there are alternatives to retribution, that you can say ouch and open a dialogue with the other person if the other person is willing, and move into a richer experience of honesty between the two of you. And you can personally vow no longer to retaliate in any of your relationships. So that's the overall picture of what's in the book. But of course, that takes us into all kinds of other topics.
Right. The territory is vast.
It certainly is. And I was surprised about that when I started writing the book. I thought, oh, this is just going to be about revenge. But no, it can't. There's no such thing as just about revenge. You have to go into be assertive enough to be able to say ouch rather than sneak around and look for some way to get back at the person in a passive aggressive way. You have to be able to forgive if the other person honestly shows some repentance, or even if the other person doesn't. You are engaging in a spiritual practice of ongoing forgivingness. And you have to give up the pleasure that comes from getting back at someone. And it is the reward circuits of the brain that get activated when you plan to retaliate and when you do retaliate. However, the pleasure is temporary. It was expressed best by John Milton in his long, beautiful poem called Paradise Lost. We have the quote as, "Revenge is sweet." We've all heard that. But I looked it up, and it turns out that it doesn't actually say that. Here's what it says. Now I'm quoting Milton. "Revenge, at first, though sweet, bitter ere long, back on itself recoils." So first he's saying, yes, revenge at first is sweet. Then he says the sweetness turns to bitterness very soon, that's ere long. And that's exactly what we know from neuroscience, that it's a short pleasure. Eventually, it ricochets back on you because you don't like yourself as much when you're that kind of a person.
Yeah. So non-retaliation is kind of the spiritual long game. And I love what you said about how this is a personal choice that you're making.
When you say it's for yourself, that also applies to the difference between forgiveness and pardon. So pardon is to let someone off the hook, to release someone from the consequences of his or their behavior. A judge can do that. You committed a crime and the judge pardoned you. The judge released you from a fine or imprisonment. Forgiveness is a different thing. Forgiveness is I'm letting go of resentment, holding on to resentment against you because of what you've done. I'm letting go of ill will, wanting something bad to happen to you. In other words, let the universe retaliate against you. Third, letting go of blame. And fourth, letting go of the plan to retaliate. To let go of those four is the equivalent of forgiveness. So forgiveness is a letting go internally, and it's a grace to have that happen. It's more likely to come to us when we have done the practice of non-retaliation. I experienced the grief about what just happened to me internally. You can tell the other person about it, but it's not necessary. Secondly, I say, ouch. I declare the impact of what the other person has done and how it felt at my end hurtful. And then I open, or shall I say, offer the chance to have the kind of conversation that will lead to clearing things up. And if I can't have that, I wish the person well and detach with love. And when that happens, it's the equivalent of forgiveness. I have a section in the book on the word deserve. Once you get it, that you don't wait for someone to deserve forgiveness. You forgive because that's who you have become. You have become someone who does not keep resenting, who does not hold ill will, hope something bad happens to the other, who is not blaming, although asking for accountability is always okay, and most of all, who's not retaliating. Secondly, retaliation. The word retaliation comes from two Latin words. The first part, re, means back, as in hit back. It also means repeat. And the second part, tal, retal. Tal in Latin means such. So it's do such back as was done to you. That's retaliation. And that shows you, the very word itself shows you that retaliation is not creative. It's not something new from you. It's just a copycat.
No, and it's not special. It's not creative. It's not that interesting. And yet we have so many cultural narratives and also just entertainment narratives that really hinge on retaliation, and they make so much money at the box office. They're so popular. Why?
So what films and dramas have always done is pander to the part of us that wants to retaliate. As you're watching the film, when you see that the evil character or the villain is not only doing something harmful, but doing it in an especially gruesome way, you also know that when the time comes, that person is going to get an especially horrible form of retribution. We've been trained to get the catharsis, the feeling of letting go and having the sense that the right thing happened and you can breathe a sigh of relief. We've been taught that the way to get that is by seeing full-on revenge, as in, Hamlet and other Shakespeare plays, in the Greek plays. They're full of revenge. So are the myths, so are the fairy tales. They all end with the hurter is hurt. And they don't keep in mind that the hurter is someone who has been hurt. So they also lack that element of compassion that is part of our Buddhist practice.
There's a beautiful quote that you share in there. I really loved it. I think it was it's something like, be as cunning as the serpent and as gentle as the dove.
Yes. The alternative to retaliation does not mean that you're going to let someone walk all over you or do it again. We're still going to be wise as serpents, but we're going to be guileless as doves. We're still going to be people who believe in nonviolence, another topic that the book brought me to. And we're no longer going to get our pleasure from seeing someone else suffer. Our pleasure now comes from seeing someone else forgiven and possibly changed for the better because of his, her, they connection to us. My working definition of love is a caring, committed connection.
Yes, I love this.
You can't be caring if you're retaliating. You can't really be committed to relating to someone if you're still retaliating. And you've certainly broken the connection if you retaliate. Retaliation, I see as the opposite of love. Now, in a relationship, there could be a little tit for tat. That does not cancel love. But when it's full on retaliation, especially as you see in a nasty divorce, then one wonders, did you ever really love that other person anyway?
Yeah. Fair question. I really, really loved this definition. In fact, because we're here now, I thought the chapter on revenge and retaliation in intimate relationships, despite how it sounds, I found it very sweet because of the vulnerability that it revealed. And you offer possible reasons for hurting the people that we love. And one is basically falling in love and then being resentful that we need someone so much. The underlying feeling there is, how dare you make me love you? Now I need you. This is terrible. I'm no longer a completely autonomous being. And then you outline 3 other reasons that we might hurt the people that we love in love. And they're resentment, fear, and transference. Probably most people listening will be familiar with these words, but I thought it would be really valuable to have you walk us through these reasons, because I think it's so important to reflect on, especially in our loving relationships, why we are behaving this way and where the hurt and the lashing out is coming from.
Yes, of course. And yeah, it's such a mystery. Why do we hurt the one we love? I do want to say that the name of the chapter about how retaliation sometimes happens in intimate relationships is From Payback to Love Back. We could go from payback to just give up paying back. Or we could go one step further, and this is when you're in spiritual consciousness. Not only will I not hurt you back, but I will even love you more. So that's the biggest challenge that the book presents. But let's go back to your question. So, first of all, we will hurt the one we love because deep down we resent the fact that we need that person and that person has contradicted our ego's view that I don't need anybody. All I need is myself. I don't need people. Well, when you notice that you do need someone and you still have that ego, then you're going to resent. Resent means feel anger deep down, but don't show it directly. Secondly, it's the fear that if I don't retaliate, if instead I love the person more and more, no matter what the person does, the way we love our children, then I fear that we'll get closer and closer. And so if there's a fear of closeness, you're better off retaliating, which constantly reestablishes distance between you. And then third is transference. Let's say your mother was abusive towards you, or your father was abusive towards you, or they somehow were emotionally unavailable and you resent them for it and haven't worked out your childhood through therapy. So you're transferring onto this person that you love the leftover resentments that you had toward the parent who disappointed or hurt you. So as long as the partner has the face of your mother or father, and you have not worked things out with what happened between you and your parents, you will take it out on your partner.
I would love it if we could remove the shame from the idea that we will act in ways that are kind of petty and act out toward our parent who might have hurt us. That's natural. If you don't resolve it, of course it's going to happen. But until you feel like it's normal and you're not flawed and crazy for acting that way, it's really hard to admit to it and get help for it.
Yeah. The psyche does not care who the actors on the stage are. It only wants one thing: to finish unfinished business, to be done with leftover stuff from the past. That's the healthy part of us. But you're supposed to do that in therapy, not in a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
If you don't mind, I wanted to mention, since we had talked about grief, is also the leftover unfinished business of childhood. When you think of how your parents treated you, and maybe they mistreated you, maybe they didn't come through for you, maybe they abused you, whatever it might be, the appropriate feeling is grief. I feel sad that they treated me like this. I'm angry that they treated me like this. I'm afraid that other people will treat me like this. Those are the three elements of grief: sadness about what you missed out on, anger at the people who made you miss out on something, and fear that it'll just keep happening throughout your life. So, one of the things that I realized, and it all began with a one-line quote from Shakespeare. This is from his play, Troilus and Cressida.
Mm-hmm.
The hope for revenge shall hide our inward woe. The hope that we will get revenge against the one who hurt us shall eliminate the necessity of having to face it, our inward woe. We have interior grief, but if we retaliate, we won't have to feel our interior grief. I consider this the main reason we retaliate. It's to avoid grief. You don't want to feel bad about what happened. You don't want to feel sad. You want to do what Troilus was trying to do: hide it, escape from it. That's what you're up to when you retaliate. Boy, it took me a while to figure that out. But once I did get there, even in my own life, I said to myself, oh my God, well, grief is the worst feeling you could possibly have. Makes you feel so damn vulnerable and weak and powerless. Brings you right back to how powerless you felt in childhood. I don't want that. I want to find a way to avoid it. And lo and behold, Mother Nature gave me away.
Retaliation. Yeah.
It's so avoidant, so primitive. Yeah. Doesn't say much for the wonderful evolved human mind that we have.
No.
Like the cave people, coming from that part of ourselves, not from the part that produced Mother Teresa and Gandhi and Martin Luther King. That's not the part of ourselves that we're accessing. We're accessing Genghis Khan and Hitler.
I guess we've all got a little bit of that in us. But I mean, I think that this part of us is something we can only meet with time and experience and learning. So, of course, it takes reps. You got to get in there and work on your better nature, like you work on your delts or your quads, I guess.
Yeah, good way to put it. It is a daily practice to build special muscle that love is.
Yes, I like the idea of love as a muscle. The kind of person who's able to give themselves a little talk and say, okay, I'm choosing not to retaliate because in my spiritual practice, that's not who I want to be. That is hard. It's a very tall order, and it does take reps, and it takes intention and practice. And when it feels that hard, what are you supposed to do? How do you get yourself there when it feels really difficult and all you want to do is channel your inner Genghis Khan and go for it?
Whenever you say yes to the higher self, which is exactly what you just described, you will automatically become courageous. I've seen it happen over and over in my own life and in the life of my clients. There's something that opens up when you open up. You find graces of courage, wisdom, compassion that were always in you, but the vow to give up something like retaliating,
Mm.
or you could give up, hurting people or whatever. But whenever you decide that you want to act from a higher self than ego, you are suddenly gifted with virtues that were always in you, but suddenly come to life.
I would just love for you to take us through before we say goodbye, because I think that you make it very clear about what the alternative to revenge can be. So when the impulse takes over, you offer 4 steps to go beyond retaliation. And they're grieve, say ouch, offer dialogue, and send goodwill. Could you just talk us through that?
I would see that as a spiritual practice
Mm-hmm.
that includes healthy psychology.
Mm. Right. And this sounds like it's related to what you were saying when we first started talking about how you need certain skills in order to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first skill would be, can I let myself feel grief? And can I let myself be sad? Healthily anger. And I have a chart in the book that shows the difference between healthy anger and abusive anger.
Mm-hmm.
And then third, let go of the fear that I'll be powerless over other people who do these things to me. That's your healthy psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Then saying ouch is your healthy assertiveness training.
Mm-hmm.
Then your opening a dialogue is where you go to nonviolent communication, as we learned from Rosenberg.
Yes.
And then the fourth one is the wishing of goodwill. That's where we go to Buddhism and the loving kindness practice.
Mm, yeah.
You'd have to want to be somebody different to do any of this. If you want to go on feeling good that you got back at the so and so, this book is useless.
Okay. I suppose it's buyers are self-selecting.
Yeah. And even wanting to be different is itself a grace.
Mm. Yeah.
You don't just suddenly think, oh, I think I'll do that. The think I'll do that came from some kind of power, higher power than the ego. The ego wouldn't come up with it on its own. But to say, I vow never again to retaliate against anyone, no matter what they do to me, that's a hard one just to think up on your own. I get that. I really do. God, it was hard for me. It took me many, many years. And I describe my journey in the last part of the book. It took 20 years of Buddhism before I got to this point.
Yeah. Dave, this book, there are so many different practices that people can use here to get to a place where they feel more able and sort of internally supported to be able to practice forgiveness and become more forgiving themselves. And you also have a lot of affirmations that help us get closer. You even have a list, and I have a favorite, and mine is, I am changing in myself what I want to see changed in others. I just wondered if you had a favorite.
I like the one you picked, but I also like that whole idea of if love can't be the same between us two, I'll be the one to be more loving towards you.
Yeah, from Auden.
The poem says, if equal affection cannot be, let the more loving one be me. And the name of the poem is The More Loving One by Auden.
Beautiful.
I thought to myself when I read that, wow, that's going one step further than love you back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is. Dave, I want to be respectful of your time and let you go here in a minute. But if there were one thing that you wish people understood more about revenge, what is that thing?
For me, it would be the joy of transitioning from payback to love back.
Hmm.
And I'd like to thank you for this wonderful interview.
Thank you, too. It was such a pleasure to speak with you again.
Welcome to the bookend, where we end with books. Here we go. I'm excited to kind of hash through this.
Yeah, I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, let's start this in a more structured way, maybe. What do you want people to walk away with from this episode?
What do I? Yeah. Okay. Well, I think the main thing for me is something that we all, I guess, kind of instinctively know, but it's that we decide who we want to be. And we can decide for ourselves if we want to be someone who forgives. And to me, I want to be someone who forgives because I think it's more freeing. And significantly, if you're, into like personality building, it's more interesting. This thing about retaliation, being uncreative, just doing exactly back to the other person, whatever they did to you, it's so rote and boring. And let's not be like that. Be creative. Be the interesting person who decides to go, I'm not going to fight back against you in this way because it's too easy. It's too boring. It's too expected. Why not surprise someone with kindness?
It's such a good way of sort of reframing the thing. Because obviously everybody wants to be above revenge. Everybody wants to be like magnanimous.
Of course.
And like so cool and so in control and so present and so like also so tough and so Teflon and so, you know what I mean? Like, of course, everybody wants to be like untouched by this revenge impulse. But yeah, this reframing of, don't forgive because like they deserve it, but because it's who you are.
That's who you are. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I love that. Or,
And who you are is someone more interesting
exactly.
than somebody who just slaps back.
Yeah. I think, he said, move from payback to love back. And revenge is the opposite of love. I get where he's coming from and all that. But for me, this kind of, who are you? Who do you want to be? Who are you? I think that I can connect to that. And he has, in his work, he has this kind of concept of like adulthood, of realizing yourself as like a grown ass human.
Yeah.
Come on now. And so this idea of when you're at your fully realized state or whatever, do you seek revenge? Do you want to make other people miserable because you think that'll make you feel better?
Yeah.
I love that. I can really relate to that. And
Me too.
It's such a helpful recentering. Although I will say I'm not desperately seeking revenge at this exact moment. It's hard to think. It's hard to think rationally.
Well, next time you are, let me know and I'll remind you of this.
Well, then you have to you got to find that center. I was listening to The Age of Napoleon. This podcast I really like.
No, here
Shout
it
out
goes.
to The Age
Okay.
of Napoleon.
Yeah. This
Maria
is
Louise.
Ben's Roman Empire. Okay.
I was listening to The Age of Napoleon, a podcast that comes out monthly about Napoleon and the age of Napoleon, as it says. Marie Louise, his second wife, after Napoleon died, she said something really funny and related to this. She said, they had like this famously not so happy marriage. She said, I could have wished him more happy years, just far away from me.
Yes.
Like she was able to sort of overcome this in her life of this kind of like, this was a political marriage, whatever. I like that sort of grown up way of being like, I'm sad that he died, even though this person, wasn't connected with my happiest years or whatever. I wish for him. I'm the kind of person that wishes for him more happy years. Yeah. But just nowhere near me. Yeah. That's a grown up thing to say. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yep. Love it.
I think that's a cool, telling you, man, Age of Napoleon. Should we do books?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Oh, wait. I wanted to,
Oh, yeah,
maybe
go
we'll
ahead.
cut this, but it was funny. All of these little different threads of different Simplify episodes sort of
Oh, yeah.
activated in my brain when I was listening to this. And when he talks about how letting go in forgiveness activates virtues within us that were not previously active, but suddenly come to life, he says, letting go is a choice that you make. And it made me think of Seth Godin saying a million years ago about starting a project. You don't need more time.
Yeah.
You just need to decide.
Yeah.
And so much of life just comes down to that.
Yeah.
Deciding who do I want to be, when do I want to start, and just doing it.
Totally.
Boom.
All right, I'll start with a book.
Please do.
So I wanted to actually bring How to Be an Adult in Relationships.
Mm-hmm.
David Richo's 2002 classic, couples therapy classic.
2002.
2002, I think.
Wow. Uh-huh.
So one sentence recap I found of this book is healthy relationships aren't about finding a perfect person, but about becoming a person who can be loved.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh.
And who can love. So again, it's this kind of this idea of like, what kind of person do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And there's like, he's got stages, he's got like the 4 A's, he's got all these frameworks and stuff.
Yeah.
But like this idea again of in my most realized self, right? Like after I can be mindful, after I can kind of reach a place from which to address the complicated, complex interpersonal places. Yeah? Like once you've reached that, okay, I can look at this situation. So not like in a moment of great fury where you have to be like perfect Jet Li about everything. But no, like in a calm moment when you can react to things calmly, who do you want to be as your fully formed person in a relationship?
Yeah.
And I love that. I think it's great. It's also like the title, How to Be an Adult in Relationships. I see that as, how do you want to just feel better? Like, how do you want to be the person you want to be in relationships? What do you got?
What do I have? I actually have a recommendation of an author who we've had on Simplify, which I hope isn't too much of a cheat, but it's, I'm always talking about this episode. It's With the End in Mind by Catherine Mannix. And listening back to the conversation with Richo made me think about her book because she explains in this book, by the way, Catherine Mannix, in case you don't know, and you really should because it's a classic Great Simplify episode, Catherine Mannix is a hospice physician, and she wrote this beautiful book about death and what death looks like and sounds like and feels like toward the end for the people around the person who's dying, also to an extent for the person who's dying, and just what to expect in this process. And she explains that in all of her time as a hospice physician, people mostly just want to say, I love you, I forgive you, and I'm sorry at the end of their lives. And that's all that really matters. So it related to the Richo conversation to me because why not expedite the freedom and resolution of unfinished business that you're going to want on your deathbed by forgiving now, by not seeking revenge now. So let's just set ourselves free. Anyway. Read the book. It's so beautiful. It's a really, really great book. It might make you have some really difficult conversations with your parents about what they want at the end of their lives, but we need to do that stuff. That's my rec.
All right.
That's it.
That's pretty much it for this episode.
Felt so fast.
Do you want to talk about more about revenge?
No, I think I'm good. I mean, I might get too thirsty for it if I talk about it too much.
I think people should buy the book, honestly.
Yeah, buy the book. It's lovely. All right. Thank you to David Richo, of course. And Simplify was produced by me, Caitlin Schiller, Ben Schumann-Stoller in Berlin, Germany, in the back of the Chapters bookshop by Colo Media. All right. Till next time. Check it out.
Check it out. Bye.